The old mansion loomed before me, a monolith of dark stone and Gothic architecture that seemed to whisper secrets from every shadow. I had inherited it from my estranged uncle, a man I barely knew. Uncle Horace had always been a mysterious figure in my family, living in seclusion and maintaining an aura of secrecy. When I received the news of his passing and the subsequent inheritance, I was both intrigued and apprehensive. Stepping through the heavy wooden doors, I was greeted by an interior that matched the mansion's exterior, grand yet foreboding. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and dust, and the dim lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls. I couldn't shake the feeling that the mansion was watching me, as if it had a life of its own. Among the myriad of rooms and corridors, one door stood out, a heavy, iron-bound door in the basement that was locked tight. The housekeeper, Mrs. Hawthorne, who had stayed on to help me adjust to my new home, warned me about it. "That door is best left alone, Miss Eliza," she said, her voice a low whisper. "There's nothing but darkness behind it." But as the days passed, my curiosity grew. I began to experience strange occurrences, whispers in the night, cold drafts in warm rooms, and fleeting shadows at the edge of my vision. The more I tried to ignore the basement door, the more it seemed to call to me. One stormy evening, unable to resist any longer, I decided to explore the forbidden basement. I found an old set of keys in Uncle Horace's study and made my way to the basement door. The key turned with a reluctant creak, and the door swung open to reveal a narrow staircase descending into darkness. With a flashlight in hand, I took a deep breath and began my descent. The air grew colder with each step, and the silence was so profound that it seemed to swallow the sound of my breathing. At the bottom of the stairs, I found myself in a large, cavernous room lined with shelves filled with old books, jars of strange substances, and bizarre artifacts. As I explored, I stumbled upon a leather-bound journal. The cover was worn, and the pages were yellowed with age. It was Uncle Horace's journal, filled with detailed accounts of his research into the occult and the supernatural. He had been obsessed with the dark arts, seeking to unlock the secrets of the universe through forbidden knowledge. I read about rituals, summoning spells, and other practices that sent chills down my spine. But the most disturbing entries were about the basement itself. According to the journal, the basement was built over a convergence of ley lines, a place of immense supernatural power. Uncle Horace had conducted experiments down here, trying to harness that power for his own purposes. As I read, a sense of unease settled over me. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to deepen. I felt a presence watching me, something malevolent and ancient. It was then that I heard the faint sound of whispering, unintelligible but filled with malice. Determined to uncover the truth, I continued to explore the basement in the following days. Each time I descended, the atmosphere grew more oppressive and the supernatural occurrences more frequent. Objects would move on their own. Strange symbols appeared on the walls, and the whispering grew louder. I discovered more of Uncle Horace's writings, hidden in various nooks and crannies. They painted a picture of a man consumed by his quest for power, willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve his goals. He had delved into dark rituals, summoning entities from other realms and binding them to his will. One entry stood out, a detailed account of a ritual he had performed to bind a particularly powerful entity to the basement. The ritual had gone awry, resulting in the entity becoming trapped between worlds, unable to leave the basement but exerting its influence throughout the mansion. Uncle Horace had tried to rectify his mistake but had ultimately failed, leaving the entity imprisoned and enraged. As I pieced together the fragments of the past, I realized that the strange occurrences and the malevolent presence were the result of Uncle Horace's actions. The entity was lashing out, seeking release from its prison. I knew I had to find a way to undo the ritual and set things right, but I had no idea where to begin. One night, as I was poring over the journal in my bedroom, the temperature plummeted, and the whispering began anew. This time, it was louder and more insistent. The pages of the journal fluttered as if caught in a strong breeze, and the shadows in the room seemed to coalesce into a dark, swirling mass. The mass took shape, forming into a tall, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It stared at me, radiating a sense of anger and despair. I felt a wave of fear wash over me, but I knew I had to confront it. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "What do you want?" The entity's eyes bore into mine, and a voice echoed in my mind, filled with bitterness. "I am the one your uncle bound to this place. I am trapped in this wretched basement, unable to leave. release me, or suffer the consequences. I realized that the entity was speaking through a telepathic link, its thoughts merging with mine. It was a chilling experience, but it gave me a glimmer of hope. If I could communicate with it, perhaps I could find a way to free it. What must I do, I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The entity's eyes flared brighter. Perform the counter ritual. The instructions are in the journal, but be warned, it will not be easy. The forces that bind me are strong, and they will resist. With that, the entity dissipated, leaving me alone in the room. I felt a surge of determination. I had to set things right, not just for myself, but for the lost soul trapped in the basement. I spent the next several days studying the journal, deciphering the complex instructions for the counter ritual. Armed with the knowledge from the journal, I gathered the necessary items for the counter ritual. It required a combination of rare herbs, specific incantations, and a precise arrangement of symbols. I also needed to perform the ritual at the exact time when the ley lines were most active, which was during the next full moon. The night of the full moon arrived, and I descended into the basement once more. The air was thick with anticipation, and the shadows seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. I set up the ritual space, following the instructions meticulously. As I lit the candles and began the incantations, I could feel the presence of the entity growing stronger. The basement seemed to come alive with supernatural energy. The walls vibrated, and the air crackled with electricity. The entity appeared before me, its form more defined than ever. Its eyes burned with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Release me, it demanded, its voice echoing in my mind. I continued the incantations, my voice growing stronger with each word. The symbols on the floor glowed with a bright, otherworldly light, and the herbs burned with an acrid scent. The entity writhed, its form shifting and contorting as the ritual progressed. As I neared the end of the ritual, a wave of dark energy surged through the room, threatening to overwhelm me. I fought to stay focused, pouring all my willpower into the final incantation. With a final, desperate effort, I completed the ritual, and the energy exploded outward, filling the room with blinding light. When the light faded, the entity was gone. The oppressive atmosphere had lifted, and the basement felt strangely peaceful. I collapsed to the floor, exhausted but triumphant. I had done it. I had freed the lost soul and broken the cycle of darkness that had plagued my family. The days following the ritual were filled with a sense of relief and closure. The strange occurrences in the mansion ceased, and the malevolent presence was no longer felt. I continued to explore the mansion, but now it felt like a place of healing rather than a place of torment. I contacted a local historian and shared the details of Uncle Horace's journal. Together, we worked to document the mansion's dark history and the events that had transpired. The story of the forbidden basement and the trapped entity became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of tampering with forces beyond our understanding. As I delved deeper into the mansion's history, I discovered that Uncle Horace had not always been consumed by darkness. He had started out as a brilliant scholar with a genuine interest in the supernatural, but his quest for knowledge had led him down a dangerous path. In the end, he had paid the price for his hubris. I decided to turn the mansion into a place of learning and exploration, a sanctuary for those interested in the paranormal and the occult. I opened its doors to researchers, historians, and enthusiasts, hoping that by sharing its secrets, we could learn from the past and avoid making the same mistakes. The mansion, once a place of darkness and despair, was now filled with life and activity. Researchers and visitors came from far and wide to study its history and explore its mysteries. The forbidden basement, now just a basement, was a reminder of the trials I had faced and the darkness I had overcome. I found a sense of purpose in my new role as the caretaker of the mansion. I continued to study the occult, but with a newfound respect for the boundaries between our world and the unknown. I honored Uncle Horace's memory by preserving his research and sharing his story, hoping that others could learn from his mistakes. The mansion had become a place of healing and discovery, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of redemption. I had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future and whatever mysteries it might hold. As I stood in the grand hall, looking out at the bustling activity around me, I felt a sense of peace. The journey into the forbidden basement had been a journey into darkness, but it had also been a journey of self-discovery and transformation. I was no longer the frightened girl who had inherited a haunted mansion. I was a woman who had faced her fears and emerged victorious. The mansion, with all its secrets and shadows, had become a part of me. And as I continued to explore its mysteries, I knew that I was not alone. The lost souls of the past had found their peace, and I had found my place among them. Together, we would continue to journey into the darkness, seeking the light that lay beyond. If you want to see more horror stories, please like the video, share your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Stay with us, thank you, and see you in the next videos.